So we're calling to order the Select Board meeting, 6:30, April 9th. Our function for the next hour is kind of a work session, is to go through the Thompsons Point wastewater disposal system ordinance. The ordinance was created in 1993, supposed to get updated every 5 years. Looks like the last update was 2007. So a lot of folks here have weighed in on that. So what we'd like to do is spend an hour tonight, and then we're going to go on to our regular meeting. Carrie's request we go through line by line. A lot of people have comments. I have a lot of comments. And then we'll probably reconvene actually 2 weeks from tonight and do the same thing if we're not done. And then on the second part of this effort is to talk about costs and how we amortize, and perhaps, as Mary suggested, a unique document that would define how we handle costs for the Lanes Lane. So the primary objective of this change is an update, but to include Lanes Lane. So I'm happy to start. People comment. I think we have in your hands a track changes red ink. I think it's from Chris. It's Steve. Did you guys have inputs or?
It's from me.
Huh?
And I did get some feedback. I was wondering if we could just go around with names first. I'm not sure everyone knows everybody.
Sure. Want to start?
Sure.
Ben, you want to just identify yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
Ben Mason.
He's a Lanes Lane homeowner.
Steve Williams, Thompsons Point operator.
Tom Moffett, leaseholder, Thompsons Point.
Chris Gallup with Civil Engineering Associates.
Miles Waite, leaseholder.
We know.
Just Mary.
We all have signs, so you know who we are.
Yeah. Carrie.
Lane.
Spirit.
So I want to thank the committee members for coming tonight. I think it's good to have them here. Good suggestion.
Well, it seems to me that this is kind of, this document that we put together is really for our future kids that you and we see all the time, you know, or the town. If we haven't made any updates in the last 10 years and we are adding and whatnot, I think it should be going forward very clear to us, you know. Great. I look forward to understanding it.
So my understanding is the original document was drafted by the town attorney and probably adopted by the select board with input. At that point, I don't think the advisory committee existed. It was, you know, there was a committee of Thompsons Point leaseholders who were involved, but the format was drafted, I believe, by the town attorney, and there may, you know, some of these edits I think could be appropriate to go back and have the attorney just check to see if anything that we want to make changes with are, you know, impacting anything in terms of the legal basis for the document. But it does seem like there's quite a few things that warrant updating.
So I think it's important to note there are sewer commissioners who are identified as Select Board, and then there's the Thompson Point Wastewater Advisory Committee, which it's in the town plan. Tom, Miles, Richard, Pete. Fritz is the representative. I've taken over that duty with a change of command, Steve and Chris. So you're the advisors, even though we're called commissioners, you know, we look to your guidance. And there's a process to changing an ordinance. The process is somewhat complicated, Dean, as far as we go through it. We have to make it, once it's completed, we'll have a legal review. And then I think it has to be made available to the public.
After it's adopted, there's a period of a warning, and there can be a petition within 44 days to put it to a vote. And if it's not put to, if there's no petition, then it's enacted, it's effective within 60 days.
Okay, so it's sort of a bureaucratic process. I mean, we're talking the minimum, couple of meetings, maybe more, legal review. We're talking 2 or 3 months before I think this becomes an official updated document. So I'm okay to go ahead line by line with comments if everybody else is.
I'd actually love to, do you think we should probably hear Mary's point of view to start, or got any?
No, I just think it's important for you to go through
Okay.
line by line and so that you all understand it and, you know, the document is clear at the end, and if there's gobbledygook that we can take out, we can, and, yeah.
Thank you.
So the first line, somebody suggested, if everybody's got their copy, change Board of Selectmen just as Select Board. I mean, that's harmless, everybody. Go ahead.
On the first line, when Matt first looked at this, he looked at it and you go down through and it says on 101, basically, it says this ordinance is adopted by the sewer commissioners. So my idea to start with the first line is to say that and keep the select board changed, but say the select board of the town of Charlotte henceforth known as sewer commissioners hereby ordained. That way it's defined right off, so people aren't looking about 3 pages in to find out on 217, I think it is.
No, that's the advisory committee.
Yeah, 217 laying on page 3
Right.
defines what a sewer commissioner is.
Okay.
So you don't learn for 2.5 pages
right.
who the sewer commissioners
So
are.
I'm just trying to, expedite the process so people know exactly who they're dealing with right at the beginning, so you don't have to, you're going through an undefined before you get there.
So you want to say sewer commissioners in parentheses, Select Board? Is that what you're suggesting?
What I wrote down was the select board of the town of Charlotte henceforth known as sewer
Okay.
commissioners hereby ordained. So I just,
Kept the style the same.
yeah, I kept the style the same.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I'll send this to you, Dean.
Okay.
I was working on it today, so I didn't have time.
Okay. The last amendment was you put in here October 9, 2000, because that wasn't identified in the last update. So it just says it's been updated all these years. Okay? So in 101, I was going to say Select Board, but I guess, Frank, what you're saying is sewer commissioners has been kind of stated in the title, so we don't have to say Select Board.
Right, in the first line, you wouldn't have to say select board. Anywhere further on in the document and down on, like I said, on 217, you wouldn't have to identify it.
Okay. So that's, anybody comments on 101, 102, or?
102.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, 102, I would just have the quotations match the title, so it would be adding the word system between disposal and ordinance.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. You have a comment on that one, Mary?
No, section 101 in the last sentence where it says it's a fund to pay for costs associated with the rehabilitation and upgrade. What if we change rehabilitation is kind of like upgrade, so if we said operation and upgrade?
Operation and upgrade, change rehabilitation to operation.
Since we have an operating fund.
Yep. Okay. One oh three. Okay. 104. Yes, 3.
That is the original language, so that basically means that there should have been a review in 2012
Right.
as well as 2017.
Right. Or delinquent. thus Mary's encouraged us in other events to update. Anything on 104? Definitions? 201 defines a bedroom.
I would just underline 201.
Oh, like we did all the others? Good.
This is just food for thought, is that in the state definition of bedroom for wastewater permitting, a bedroom is defined as having a closet.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I don't know if we want that added?
You know, this is a camp. Do you think that's unique? I mean, do the camps necessarily have
No.
closets?
Camps often don't have closets.
And I think going back, Tom Mansfield at one point with Steve had checked out a couple of camps because people wanted to create a loft, which wouldn't have had a bedroom, but they were using it for the purpose of sleeping quarters. And so maybe that's why closet wasn't included. I don't, you remember that discussion, Steve? There was a couple camps that were built, and it was very clear the floor plan was set up in a way that they could use the space as a bedroom. So they could add an additional bedroom, but not necessarily, you know, attain the wastewater. And so maybe having a closet in there would be less restrictive than the way it is now.
I think I guess I'm not in favor of that, yeah, I was just
Seems to me
throwing that
a
out.
closet would be more restrictive.
I think adding a closet would be less restrictive.
Less restrictive.
Because it would enable people to take a room that doesn't have a closet, put a bed in it, and you couldn't penalize them for having a bedroom because there isn't a closet.
Yeah.
People would start taking closets out of.
Yeah, they might very well.
So what's your ultimate desire, to change it or keep it the way it is?
Keep it the way it is.
Okay. I'm not familiar with 202 at all. Is that standard biochemical oxygen
Yes.
demands? That's waste, I guess?
Yep. Steve runs BOD sampling. He basically samples the quality of the effluent coming into and leaving the system every year. So that's what that refers to.
Okay.
To gauge the strength of the wastewater.
So on 202, I just took out the word denoting in the parentheses.
Oh, just take out the word denoting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do we have 203? Why do we have that definition?
I was going to suggest combining 203 and 217.
Well, 217 I've removed.
Yeah, those are redundant definitions.
203 and 217
Well,
is.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but now is,
Oh, commission versus sewer
so
commissioners.
should we change?
Even though,
So should this be commission, or, so is your board considered the commission or a committee?
advisory,
So would that,
Define later.
it's in
so,
the very end.
okay, so if they're defined later, then why isn't 203 and 217 just stricken?
Well, I'll tell you, I was thinking, so these are definitions, so I think we need to define the commission shall mean Charlotte's Sewer Commission and its agents, and you go to 217, and we put the word select board in there somehow.
Right, because it wasn't defined before.
Right.
217 defines a commissioner as a select board member.
Right.
203 implies that the commission can include the commissioners and agents duly represented. Doesn't mean it's just a select board.
so
We can
we-
designate agents, there can be agents
So it's the
and
select
or,
board and the representatives are the commission, and then we have the advisory committee.
and the select board is commissioners, and then we have commissioners plus other people to form the commission.
Can we make it just simple?
Huh?
Can we just make it simple?
Yeah, well, a lawyer would.
I'd like to do that. I'd still like to combine them, but can you
I mean,
combine them?
you defined, you said the select board of the town of Charlotte hereinafter, whatever you said, to be known as defined as the sewer commissioners. In the very first sentence of the ordinance, you're telling everyone the select board is the sewer commissioners, and I don't see why you have to define it two more times.
And no matter what, the commission can always authorize representatives to do their work.
The select board can authorize whatever they want.
But I think 203 and 217 can both just disappear.
Okay, well, let me just look at, I suggest, if you go to page 11, it says you go all the way out to there. They talk about the advisory committee all the way through this, and you've already talked about it, and we don't define it. So I was going to suggest we add in a definition what the Thompson Point Wastewater Advisory Committee is. So we'll define the commission, the select board and its representatives. We define the Thompson Point Wastewater Advisory Committee and how the words are in here, the summary. And so then you have definitions to take you through the.
The advisory committee is defined in section 901.
That's right.
Yeah, but you got to go to page 11 before, to Frank's point, till you get there.
We don't talk about the committee until we get there. Well, except for the budget.
Well, in general, the point of a definitions article is to define any specific terminology to the, that runs somewhere through the document. So it would make sense to have the TP-WAC, as it's abbreviated, in the definitions.
Yeah, put them in the definitions and take out the extra, this commission.
Swap it out for 203.
It seems like 203, if we don't use the term commission, we just use the term sewer commission, that's handled by 217.
Okay.
So, or,
Yeah, you can take 901 and change it to 217.
Or you said delete 203, didn't you?
Yeah, I said delete both of them.
Well, I'd like to keep, if you're going to delete 203, I would like to leave 217.
But that's already defined right at the first sentence.
It's not really defined, it's used.
No, it's defined. That's being defined when you say that henceforth known as the sewer commissions. That means that's what that.
See if the attorneys agree with us.
That's to read.
So,
We can always put
We'd
it back
still
in.
add a
Define the
definition
committee.
for the committee,
and
for the Thompsons.
the
Yeah.
advisory for both.
Yeah, for the
Okay, so
advisory.
you and I seem to be in agreement here.
Well, I think the sewer commissioners is adequately defined in that first sentence of the
Top
document.
of the page.
But, because even in Article 1, sewer commissioner is used before the definitions. That's why it seems important to define it that early. But we definitely, I agree, we definitely need to have the Thompson's Point Wastewater Advisory Committee defined somewhere in Article 2.
Yeah.
And preferably later than sooner because it comes up later in the document.
So these are all in alphabetical order. These 201 is bedroom, 202 is BOD. So these are all in alphabetical order.
So it would be between what needs to be renumbered 215, 216, the redundants, which would actually be 221, 222.
Well, there is no 2.
Well, there's two 215s and two 216s. If you look at the end of the definitions.
Yes. They're not sequential.
So, well, they are. There's a 215, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 15, 16.
Okay.
But it would be between the suspended solids and town would be Thompson's, right?
Or at the very end.
TH, well, if it's alphabetical.
Oh, okay.
ST.
THOM.
So you'd make it where?
222, and then 223 would be town.
Taking 220, making this other section 250.
Okay.
Township
220.
Wastewater Advisory Committee?
That would be the
221, I'm missing 221.
This section, where is this section? This one here would be 221, this is 220.
Yeah, this becomes 221.
And then, yeah, they use 215 again.
Then we'll put in 222 will be the TP WAC. Okay.
Wastewater. Advisory.
And then 216 becomes 223, right?
Yeah,
Okay, got it. So are we,
so that's from 901, we've changed that.
so I'm still on, are we going to identify sewer commission and definitions, or we got a
So, Matt, just tell me, we added a few numbers?
Well, we changed
corrected these here.
the numbers
Okay.
on the end, they reused 215 and 216.
Oh, and I
So
see
what we
what you-
did is we went from
21.
219, 220, we renamed the second 215 to 221.
Right,
And then we put in the 222, which was the Thompson's Point Wastewater Advisory Committee from 901.
right.
And then we renamed the last one, the last 216 to 223. But those numbers will change if we take out 203 and 217.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why don't you
Very
guys
good.
just vote and say whether you want to take out 217 or not? You're done.
Well, I'm going to take out 217, but I would just like to, and under 203, put select board in there. In other words, we're combining them. So under 203, commission, i.e. select board, shall mean,
Parentheses, select board.
yeah, parentheses, select board, under 203, and then delete 217.
That works for me.
That's what I would do.
I don't think it hurts anything to have it there.
And then you have all your definitions of the terms that are used.
People okay with that?
Yeah.
The lawyer can make a final,
That's exactly right.
okay.
Okay, so wait, just while we're there,
While we're there.
218 now becomes 217,
Right.
Oh, that's right.
219 becomes 218,
Yeah, we'll-
220 becomes
Get that.
219.
Let's just say we'll put them in numerical order.
Right,
Thank you. Well, someone said that last time, look what happened.
about 20 years ago, right? Okay, so we'll correct that.
Was there an edit to 202? There was something about denote something? Did someone say?
Yeah, just the denoting.
Getting rid of the word.
Just get rid of the word denoting,
Okay.
just to put the parentheses around what it stands for, and that's it.
Okay, so now we're top of page 2.
We're top of page 2, continuing with definitions.
Very good. We added title and date across the top. I like it. Thank you.
So these are more technical issues, the hazardous waste, the garbage, low flow, everybody happy with that?
204, it's a redundant to me, because if we go down to 212, it talks about pretty much the same thing.
In my, sorry, I didn't do that well, but I meant, what I intended there was to delete 212 because I don't believe shredded garbage is allowed.
There's no incinerators allowed in the sinks?
Well, what I was thinking is that, to me, the word garbage means everything. Paper, plastic. If I look at garbage, I'm thinking everything. What I did is I changed the 212. I mean, I think 204 needs to be changed anyways, but I wrote organic waste shall mean waste, shall mean the waste from the preparation of cooking and stuff, instead of saying garbage. Because I don't want any garbage in there. I want, organic waste is fine.
Replace, you're on 204, replace garbage to organic waste?
If you're gonna take out 212, because you don't wanna have the, I would combine the definition in 212 with 204, and I would put down organic waste instead of garbage.
Yep.
Could I ask Steve or Chris, do you know where that's used in the ordinance, garbage? Is that?
I don't offhand, but what we might want to do is just, you can search a document.
Right.
And maybe just do a search and replace for all the garbage.
Section 504, page 6, 504B.
Right. So those are prohibited.
Any garbage. Change that to organic waste?
Probably. We'll get there.
Well, no, I think garbage is a good thing to not have go in it at all.
This is prohibiting
Oh, prohibiting.
Right.
No
now-
discharge, right.
Right, you're prohibiting garbage, but then
Yeah.
you've got garbage, you're saying garbage can go down.
No,
In 204.
that's just defining what garbage is.
Right, but it's this, right, but you're trying to say that if food goes down their drain that they've used for, in the preparation and some things go down, it's not allowed.
That's later in the document, not in the definition, right?
Right, but I mean, I'm just trying to pretend I'm one of the people there to say, what am I doing? I'm cutting things up to cook, and yet it's defined as garbage, and I can't put garbage in the system.
But you can.
Because
put in organic waste.
it's food,
No.
right, but,
Can't even put in organic waste. We want gray water only.
And so, section 504, page 6, section B, it says substances prohibited include the following: any garbage, the definition of garbage, you go back to the definition here, including kitchen waste, coffee grounds, or vegetable matter. So that's something that's prohibited from going down a sink. But if you say, oh, what is garbage? Then you go back to 204 and you say, oh, garbage means any solid waste from domestic.
okay, but if I cut something up, or if I open up a can of corn, and pieces fall out and go down, am I in violation?
Yes. That's what it says.
And how do we control that? How do we know this? How can we enforce this?
You can't enforce anything. It's hard to enforce a lot of this stuff. I mean,
No, it's more of an honor system, or if the system backs up.
It's going around and sniffing your sinks. But if we tell them, here,
You gotta start.
just garbage goes in the garbage can.
Or if there's a clog and it causes
wipe
a problem and you see
your
it's
cutting
full
board
of
into the
corn
garbage.
husks.
You don't wipe it into the sink like
Right.
you often do when you have a.
Well, I realize that,
disposal.
but some people actually cut things,
So-
process things in the sink and things go down.
Yeah.
So Frank, back to your
No,
point though. 204
But again, 204 and.
talks about
and
garbage.
212 talk about garbage, so
Right.
if, I mean, if you're gonna take out 212, that's fine. If you feel that, you know, if you wanna define garbage as, I mean, you have this as just, commercial, I don't know what, commercial preparation?
Or domestic. It says from
Domestic or
domestic and
commercial, I
commercial.
mean-
What about garbage shall mean organic solid waste? Does that,
Well, the thing is that, I mean, you'd have to have everything. I mean, the garbage is garbage. I mean, if you're gonna go that far, you might as well just say garbage and just say, why put in from, I mean, if you're gonna put in from cooking and food, why wouldn't you just put in everything? I mean, I granted in the end,
Well, it's-
in the violations, it says some, or,
yeah,
you
dental
know,
floss,
it talks
disposal
about
diapers,
more
cat litter,
things.
right.
But isn't 204 complete?
Dean, I'd like to hear, you had said keep 204 as is,
Right.
but eliminate 212?
Yeah, that's what
That was my thinking.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I think so too, because 212, someone reads this quickly and it says, oh, shredded, so maybe shredded's okay.
Right.
So if you just remove anything to do about shredded, just say garbage.
Well, and that's what I did. I crossed out have been shredded to such a degree that, I just wrote, organic waste shall mean the waste from the preparation, cooking, and dispensing of food, that all particles will be carried freely under the flow conditions normally prevailing in sewer systems with no particle greater than, I just wrote, I left everything else, not that they can shred it, but that I left the other part in there. I mean, you don't have to say with no particle greater than a half an inch, you could say less if you wanted, but
But
if you kept that one in there.
204 is all inclusive.
I think we go with the all-inclusive.
Yeah, which is no garbage. You guys just said
No cat litter, no.
you only
nothing
want gray
shredded.
water. So you delete 212, you're not over defining,
Right.
I think.
Keep 204, delete 212.
Yeah.
That's probably right.
Everybody on board with that?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Where are we? 05. Any issues? Low flow design.
Has the state statute changed?
It's been revised, but it's still the same statute.
Okay.
It's a hazardous waste management regulations, and there's been updates, but it's still valid.
Okay, good.
206, the last two words, I don't see sanitary sewage defined anywhere, but I do see sewage in section 214. Should we just strike sanitary?
That's a good point. Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
And to be consistent, underline for the formatting, Dean?
Yep.
207, 208, 211.
Has low flow design been changed? I know particular washing machine.
Yeah, actually circle that as, I'll double check that, because I was thinking, our toilet's 1.6 now.
1.6.
So I think, I'll double check those numbers. I
Washing
think
machines
toilets
are down to
are.
like 14 or something, aren't they?
That's a good question. I'm sure they are. They've got
So
it.
you're going to check the definition of low flow rate?
Yeah, I'll verify the gallonage for each low flow fixture, get that to Dean.
Is that like international plumbing code, or is that Vermont?
I think some of that, the toilets, the sinks is in the wastewater manual. The washing machine, I don't know if the state regulates that from a wastewater component. It is at Thompson Point, which is actually something for later in the document, but I'll see what I can find online.
209, add a apostrophe after person.
Apostrophe?
Yeah, all the defined words are bracketed and
Apostrophes? Quotation.
a quotation.
Quotation.
Thank you.
A line under 208.
And 207.
Right, we got that.
And 211.
Yep.
Do we actually have a plan where it says 213 as-built plans have been created by the system operator or system engineer? Do we have something dated and called something?
I think that's in process. Steve, are you
We're at 213,
working
Steve?
on that?
Yeah.
The red, do we have that?
We're working on that.
That might be revised to say as-built plans have been created by the system operator and reviewed and approved by the system engineer. So Steve creates the plans and then has civil engineering associates review them.
Those are just as-built with respect to what's there and not their location, correct?
Well, the discussion is we have the original Trudell plans. And so if Steve changes boxes or if something comes up and there's a change to it, what we'd like to have is a set of as-bills from the operator. So the next operator or the select board or any town staff would know if there's been any deviations from the original design plans.
So who maintains these? The original is Trudeau one and then the as-built. Who maintains that? Do you or do we?
That would be the engineers.
You maintain?
Well, so, yeah, it's kind of something we've been getting Steve to do over the last couple of years is basically, we provided him plans of each lot number, and then he's basically taking notes as to any changes he does over the course of the summer, and then any as-built changes that would change from that, we'd work with him to generate a plan, because Steve's the one that's out there every day. So that's, and then ideally, we'll have a hard copy at the end of every operating season, so you guys will have that in your records. And that way, if there's a camp that seems to go through a pump every year, maybe it'll help, track some of the problems a little more closely.
It's important because when the roads are maintained, a lot of the facilities are in the road right away. So we need to know for that purpose as well.
I understand what it is. I just wonder, where do we find it? So you maintain it or do we have a copy of it?
Well, we have a copy always at the plant with a copy of our permit and everything else. So if there's something changed, we don't know about it and we notify Chris and,
So Dean and I have been trying to get and working with Steve to get a more formal record Right now, Steve's got a hard set of the original plans. He's also got his field notes, but what we want to do is actually put that in digital format. So either our office has it in the server, as well as you guys would have either a disc or a CD, or have it on your server. I don't know how you guys keep electronic files, but that way everybody would have a more formal copy than just, a handwritten as-built in the plant.
I think it should have a single person designated to maintain them.
That's what I was, and a goal to have it done.
So the actual work is done by Steve. He knows, or Jake, they know what actually gets done. And then, but I think in terms of actually putting them into the plans, I want to say civil engineering is better.
Yeah, that works for us. That's what we actually just started. So Steve just gave us his files from the 2016-17 year. We just updated that electronically, and that's what we're hoping to do moving forward.
For people who aren't familiar with it, you're like, well, where's the plans? Well, no, who do I talk to for the plans?
The true document should be scanned. It's in a file somewhere, on a hard drive.
That we have.
Those you have.
The original Trudell plans are
That's not a problem. It's when things get changed or added to.
right.
And honestly, we don't really change a whole lot. We may bump a box off the road a foot or so. It's still in the same spot. It's just a foot different. If it's a box that's constantly getting hit, we'll move it out of the traffic. But it's still basically within a 2-foot radius of where it was on the plan.
So Chris, when would this be, what I'd consider up to date? I mean, there's changes all the time, I understand that, but is there a point in time when you've got a foundation, a point in time where it's current?
It's always evolving.
It's always evolving, but you're saying you're working on it. Is there a baseline that you have?
Well, so part of the thing we've been working with Dean on is there's never been anything in the operator's kind of manual to mandate that the operator take this level of notes and this level of detail. So Dean and I are working on getting Steve and Jake to basically document everything. So like in the annual reports, we document that, hey, the operators had to replace 7 pumps, which is what Steve tells us. But like myself and Dean and Mary, we don't necessarily know which pumps were replaced. So what we want to do is have that more formal, where it's very clear that, a lot 201, Steve and Jake replaced a pump on June 3rd. And then same with the plans, if there's and I'll give you the example, it was the Briggs camp.
Yep.
So the Briggs camp was rebuilt several years ago by Birdseye. Steve oversaw the work, and the box got moved a little bit. What we would like to have is an actual as-built for that. So what Steve's been working on is going through and updating his as-built plan, as well as all the data for what's been done. And as we get that, we'll put in electronic data, but we need to get that from Steve and Jake. So we did update the field notes, but we don't have the actual plan.
So timeline for that, Steve?
Can happen anytime, but we haven't moved that much stuff in 22 years, so, I think we moved three boxes, so it's not like we're picking everything up and moving it all over the place.
Right.
It's very seldom it happens.
Right.
Can you just say as-built plans are maintained by the system operator and system engineer?
Yeah, something like that. We say that as-built plans are maintained.
Created and maintained?
Created and maintained by the system operator?
On what number?
That works. I had one to add to 211.
Yeah.
Plumbing connection shall mean any fixture or appliance connected to the Thompson's Point wastewater system, but in 213, near the end, this system is generally shown on plans entitled Town of Charlotte Wastewater Facilities. So in 211, if we strike system and put in facilities, then it'll track. There's no definition for Thompson Point wastewater system anywhere.
Okay.
So do we have an official keeper of the plans?
Yeah, we just said the operator, system operator, and system engineer. As-built plans maintained by system operator and system engineer.
So I believe the original plans are all in the vault.
I think it's got it.
So the original plans are in the vault. We have everything scanned PDF, which we've also submitted to the town, so they have it electronically. And then Steve keeps a hard copy in the
I
plant
go
at
through
all
a couple
times.
hard copies, like the hard copy I have now is all tattered. So Chris can print me out another one, and, the other one is tattered so much that I need another one to print me out.
You okay? I mean,
still don't know where to look for them. Is that part of the engineer's license, is having to maintain plans?
We actually don't have to on this. I believe if you were to go to indirect discharge permit, I believe it would probably say the town is required to have a set of the permit plans either on the project site or at the town office, which is normally what they have in most permits. We have a server, so we back up. Anything we have gets scanned in. It's a PDF that gets backed up on multiple hard drives. And so we keep everything electronically. It's a matter of whatever format the town wants, we're happy to.
Having looked through town records, trying to find like as-built for the library, I mean, we did the roof, well, maybe they're in the library, no, I think some are in the vault, or there might be some over here. It would be good to have a place where they're kept.
You guys you guys must have a secure server. Does everything get backed up? So maybe what we do is at the end of each operating season, when we submit the final year-end report, any documents we have, and again, we're relying on the operator to get those to us, but we can, provide those to the town and they can put on their server. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go.
And then rightfully, any significant changes also have to get approved by the Agency of Natural Resources as part of your indirect discharge permit. So the state also has copies of that, for what it's worth.
In 22 years, we've never had to really go to the state and say, hey, we want to move this 2 feet. They don't,
Was the force main that you put in on Lane's Lane, is that gonna require,
that's never changed off the original plans.
so we've met the plan?
Yes.
Just delayed 20 years doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's a case where having CEA develop a true as-built, because these as-builts that we're talking about are not necessarily true engineering as-builts that you could, record. They're more working as-builts. But this new line would be an opportunity to actually have a stamped PE plan that's an as-built of what the Lane's Lane system is.
Yeah, so the Lane's Lane system has not been completed yet. So Steve started that last fall. Prior to anybody putting that into service, it will need to be signed off on by an engineering firm. So probably at the end of the project, we'll have to observe the pressure testing, the final testing. We'll have to sign off on that, and we can certainly provide as-built of the entire system. We had surveyed that. We had that last discussion a year or so ago with you guys. We have it all surveyed, so it's very easy to update that with actual record drawings.
Yeah.
No state requirements there.
And you'll provide that to us and we'll maintain it on the town server.
Yeah, that works good for us.
Maybe add that at the end, as those plans have been created by the system and operator, and system engineer, and are maintained electronically in the town server.
Yeah.
Well, since,
From 213.
in the town vault. Okay. Anything on 214? $215, $216, $217's been deleted.
16 needs some quotes.
Need quotes on 16.
Can someone explain to me, I've read it a couple times, what slug is? I get it's a quantity of,
Yeah, it's a discrete volume of.
and you measure that? Or it happens post?
Usually a slug is a high strength. When it comes through and it's, in the definition of slug, I believe through all the wastewater books, it's high strength waste. So if you're getting something that comes in a slug, you have a potential to poison your plant and kill all your biological bugs. So that's what we try and avoid, slugs and everything like that, so.
So someone was putting rubber gloves in our toilet at the church, and that caused a backup. Is that a slug?
No, no, it's usually high strength, something that has been, something's, say there's a pump that's not working and it's the capacity, it has over time built up and become septic, and then finally the pump comes on or something and it sends a slug to the plant. It takes the biochemical oxygen demand, the bugs need that. So what it'll do is it'll take the oxygen from the bugs and they'll die. So the slug is not a good thing.
Got it. Yeah, never seems
This
like a good
defines
one.
a slug as both what Steve was talking about, which is in concentration of, in concentration, but a slug can also be a large volume, which is the quantity of flow. So you can have, consider like,
A high strength, or you can have.
right,
Yeah, I think this is
Long
more,
duration.
yeah, this is more volume based. This would be like somebody could also just unload a large volume of liquid down the drain,
Or like
which would
10
exceed
camps at
the.
once.
Yeah.
Flush their toilets
10
at the
clamps at
same
once, all
time.
inside, right after the softball game to go home and take showers.
Yeah.
That'll cause a slug.
Well, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, I think they're trying to basically not, you know, overuse the system and create an impact to the tanks down below that couldn't necessarily handle that discharge.
Why does 214 include stormwaters?
I'm gonna go back to that.
Yeah.
Let's not
Let's
go
not
past
encourage
214.
Because it's supposed to be a closed system. So it shouldn't have groundwater in it.
Shouldn't have groundwater or surface water or storm waters, but, I mean, we're going with a definition of sewage, which is a very broad term, and like in the city of Burlington, we do have combined sewer, which is stormwater and wastewater in the same pipe. And we always have, they call it infiltration, so no matter what, you're gonna have some groundwater getting through cracks in your pipe. But for the purpose of this ordinance, I don't know if we need to,
Limit the definition, maybe.
You're always gonna have it, but you don't want it, you're supposed to get rid of it. Leaks through, if you know you have groundwater intrusion someplace, you should fix it.
so, again, we're still talking about a definition here. We're not allowing it or disallowing it, but, I don't know, what do you,
If we restrict the definition, that might help in allowing runoff, other things that you don't want in
What
there.
does the permit say? I mean, it seems like the permit assumes a certain amount of infiltration?
Yeah, so all the, when you're testing new sewer lines and you're calculating gravity sewer lines or structures, you do have to design it for a certain amount of infiltration that naturally comes in. Not everything is 100% solid. And that's why town, you actually have to pay on infiltration rates for most towns as well. So I'm wondering if the definition, although it seems to contradict in why you'd have stormwater in the definition of sewage, is that theoretically, if you exclude stormwater, would the town essentially be not in compliance with the bylaw if there's any infiltration? I don't know what your thoughts
Well, stormwater is gonna be, you have open sand guts. You're gonna get stormwater every rainstorm, so that needs.
So what Steve's saying about, so you have the collection system from house to
Oh, yeah.
tanks, but then in your actual plant itself, all the effluent is going into your sand filter, which after rain events, as you can see in the numbers, it spikes as well. So it might be worth leaving that in there.
just leave it in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we do have that other surface, other waters getting into our
Right,
system
the
by
filters
design.
are uncovered, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
After slug, it'll be the new 218. I was looking forward and coming back to it and finding where step tank is referenced. And it seems like it really should be step station is the word defined. Because it refers to a combined septic tank and effluent pump station.
What page are you on where it's discussed?
It's discussed on page 11 at the top, 805. Page 10 at the bottom, 804. I don't see how saying step station in those places changes it in any way.
Yeah, so
So it's a step tank. The convention, it's called a step tank.
But in the definition, it's a septic tank. So it's a septic tank effluent pump tank?
yes, so in the indirect discharge permit, it says septic tank effluent pump, in parentheses, step collection system. So that goes along with what you're saying.
I guess it's just redundant to say step tank.
But that's just convention.
Well, and it doesn't say that in the indirect discharge permit.
So this is what a step collection system. Oh. Yeah, but if you're gonna order a step tank from Camp Precrast, you'd call it a step tank. You wouldn't call it a
It's the
step.
name of it.
That's just the vernacular.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair. Happens all the
Would
time.
it be clearer if step was in parentheses, and then after that, so you had step, and then, it has to be two quote of parentheses, but you'd have septic tank and effluent to match this. It's 6 one after the
This
other.
is step tank.
Yeah, let's keep it a step tank.
Yeah, I guess if it wanted to make anything consistent, I'd get rid of the word station at the end of that definition and the two words that are in the discharge permit. What were
Are
the
those-
collection
'cause Are
system?
those two different things? Is the septic tank and the effluent pump station, are those two,
That's
are those?
one unit.
So it's all
One
one
unit.
unit, okay. So yeah, I think.
What does it refer to in the discharge permit?
Septic tank effluent pump collection system.
So we would put collection system instead of station in the definition?
Collection
And then it
system.
matches the permit?
No, it's an effluent pump collection system? No.
That's just what the permit defines it as. That the state gives us.
Yeah, that is what it says in the permit.
Yeah.
So we're going to change station to collection system.
Yep.
218,
The
the
only
new
thing is, I
218.
don't know whether the permit is referring to the whole collection of step tanks, and our definition is referring to
that's
an
a good point.
individual.
You know, yeah. It's
You
all,
hear that, Chris?
you guys want.
The station may be the single station, whereas your permit's for the entire system.
Yes.
So therefore, the words that are there might be
Leaf station?
leave station. Okay. Anything more under definitions? We go on to Article 3. 301. So we've crossed out the 1994 because that's not going to be applicable anymore when we're talking about Lane's Lane. So that
Just a period.
after sewer.
sewer.
Yep. What are you on, 302?
No, that was fine.
As we get into the sewage service area, sewer service area, I know the town attorney is probably going to have some edits, and I know there might be discussion here. So I think it's good to weigh in. I don't know whether I'm pushing too hard, but I know there was discussion about washing machines, and I don't know whether it's possible. Washing machines. Am I jumping too far ahead to try to get to there, or do you want to discuss each section?
Each section.
Okay. All right.
So we're 302.
Okay, so lots 201 through 208.
Which section are you on?
I'm on 302, 303. What about lot 204, Les Bronx? Why wouldn't you exempt that in section 303 until the time that it becomes seasonal?
Because they will be served by the system, but they're not required to connect to the system. 304 will deal with the connection requirement, and 302 just indicates what lots will ultimately be served. It's the sewage service area.
So in the middle of 304, Mary, your comment, I think, is applicable. Lot 204.
But what, like, the following applies to 204 in consideration of the lot's year-round occupancy, blah, 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 blah. Can't we be a little simpler?
I think we
And then
want to
this is a
acknowledge
new
that they will be
shall
connected.
connect to the public sewer by December 31st, 2028.
I think we want to indicate that they will be connected ultimately.
Well, they will be connected when they become seasonal.
But if you're saying take them out of 302, then that indicates they won't be connected.
Well, whatever, I'm just making a comment that 204 is just like the caretaker structure, which is year-round, and it's exempt from the public sewer.
Only temporarily, as long as the agreement's in effect.
I'm not seeing the difference here between 204.
There's a signed agreement from the lessees of Lot 204 with the town that it's a seasonal, it's a year-round dwelling only as long as those lessees are occupying the structure.
Right, so why can't you just say that 204 is exempt until that time it becomes seasonal? Because when that camp sells and it's no longer Lesbrance, it is seasonal
That's what section 304 says.
in a lot of
language.
words.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that complicated.
Yeah, we're taking a good chunk of this page, all about a lease agreement. I think it can be simplified.
I did talk a little bit with the town attorney, and he said it's definitely a headache to deal with Lot 204. Because there's a lot of ifs, if the lessee changes before everyone's required to hook on, then they're also required to hook on. If the lessee changes after everyone's required to hook on, then there may be a allowance period.
But it also says if it fails, I mean, there's some definitions under that 204, there's some reasons why.
If it fails, though, it's a year-round camp at this point. So that person, if their septic system fails, they're going to replace their year-round system. So are you saying that you have to replace your year-round system and you have to hook onto the town system? What person
Well,
is
you
going to
wouldn't do,
think that's a good
you
idea?
wouldn't do both. Oh, you'd have to if they're year-round. So.
Leave them alone until they're seasonal.
If they fail, that's
So
exactly
I
why
wonder what
they,
Mary's suggesting the language be. That instead of that whole paragraph on 204, what do you suggest the language should be? In 302?
I would,
We're in the middle of 304, it's
Yeah.
lot 204 in the middle of, yeah, go ahead.
could also ask the town attorney to address this.
I probably would exempt it in its own section. Section 3, section
So
304
basically, you
becomes
want to
something
get down
different.
to where it
Section
says lot
304
204
is-
on Lanes Lane be exempt from being required to connect to the public sewer until December 31st, 2028.
No. Structure located on Thompson's Point, lot 204, shall be exempt from connection to the public sewer until that time that the camp becomes seasonal.
Through change of ownership.
Yes.
It's automatic.
Yep.
Right, okay.
It's actually not through ownership, it's the lease.
Maybe.
So what you just said, Mary, is that the sentence at section 304, is that where you'd put that?
But I'm wherever, it just needs to be its own, if you just make it simple with its own little section, you can take out a lot of stuff in 304. I don't even know what 304 was before.
Well, that's what you kind of
Why are
stated.
we referencing June 19th, 1979? That's the first time they signed the lease with the town?
No, that's the agreement
It's on the records.
that allows them to be year-round.
Okay.
You could just say, add another section in 303. After the caretaker structure sentence, you could say, the existing structure on lot 204, located on Lanes Lane, shall be exempt from connection to public sewer until the lease changes and use becomes seasonal? I mean, I'm just,
Until that time that the lease becomes seasonal. However.
Do you say or December 31st,
No.
whichever comes sooner?
No. The lease, that date has nothing to do with
I think it's an
204.
arbitrary date.
Their lease expires on 2028, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to
Okay.
renew
Gotcha.
and still
Yeah,
own
and
what they own.
Still live there year-round.
So if they change lease, if they give up the lease in, say, 2025,
They should connect to the
Becomes
sewer.
seasonal.
how would this ordinance,
What compels them to hook up if they sell the place at 225?
If they sell the place in
2025.
2025, they immediately become seasonal, just like Stanley Lane's camp became seasonal.
And they go to the rental,
And it triggers section, whatever we're writing now, 305,
Okay.
it has to hook up.
but where they're exempt? I mean, you just said they're
It
exempt.
says, he
Until it
said
becomes
exempt
seasonal.
until that time that the camp becomes seasonal.
Once
Or
it
the
becomes
lease becomes
seasonal, it is
seasonal,
no
or
longer
however you want to
exempt.
word it. And at that point, that is a seasonal lease, they are connected to the Lanes Lane public sewer.
I think that's honoring the 79 agreement, which as long
Yes.
as they're living there year-round, they can use their septic system. As soon as there's a trigger that makes it a seasonal camp like all the others, it should be on the public
Okay,
sewer.
read the first one of 304. It says that lot 204 is exempt from, it looks like to me that it reads that it's exempt from the 4 conditions that would require it to hook up earlier.
If we put lot 204 in section 303, then we wouldn't have to accept lot 204 in that.
Correct.
Okay, let's do
Right.
that.
you could delete all of section 304 is what you're saying.
No, you couldn't.
Just the paragraph about 204.
You can
Paragraph about
del-
204.
delete the paragraph about 204, and then you could say the lots 201 through 208 on Lane's Lane
Yep.
shall,
May voluntarily connect, is that where you're at?
yes,
Down there, so everything above could be deleted. If we add under 303, lot 24 exempt until camp becomes seasonal. That's under 303.
Or except of what's happening below, it would have to become seasonal if the septic failed and it had to hook to, what if the,
No, because they can rehab their own.
they can rehab their,
year-round
They can-
Because
They
they
can
need
have their own.
septic 12 months out of the year.
that would be a
That's the
silly
problem.
thing to do, but they could.
Yeah, they would be entitled to a best fit replacement system.
So the agreement dated June 19th is where it tells when it becomes seasonal, is that right?
No, it just says, there were 3 camps that were grandfathered, and it just says specifically that they are allowed to be year-round until that time that the camps are sold, and at that point, they become seasonal. So it was Stanley Lane's camp, it was a or a,
So this could be year-round in perpetuity.
they could be there for however long there's less brown.
Well, the elder Lesbrunts have to be alive.
No,
No?
Yeah,
it's owned by a trust.
the camp is owned by a trust, the lease is to the Mr. and Mrs. Lesbrunts.
can I make a suggestion?
We're intending to hook up immediately for all kinds of reasons, but it would seem to me that the camps on Lane's Lane that are either not required, as in the Lesbrunts situation, or not ready, as in our situation, to hook up. As I understand this, they are required, whether they want to or not, whether they're seasonal, and they all are seasonal, they are required to hook up. Is that correct? That is correct. Yeah.
201 through 208 less 204, correct?
There's a few
Correct.
leases that need to be renewed in order to actually make that requirement effective.
Ultimately, it will be.
So if, to Mary's point, if, when that camp becomes not owned by the Lesbrunts Trust, and therefore the lease reverts to the town, wouldn't it be reasonable to give the new leaseholder the same 10 years that you're giving everybody now? Because I don't have to hook up for 10 years according to this, but I think it's better for the lake for me to hook up now, right? And wouldn't it make sense that if and when the Lesbrunts sell and somebody else moved in, they be accorded the same 10 years to get hooked up?
I think that's another reason to give them warning in this ordinance that they will be required to hook up eventually.
I mean, do we really want to go another 20 years, worst case, to hook up? I mean,
Your choice.
Well, I still can't get past perpetuity because the truck can keep going on and on.
It's not perpetuity, it's the leaseholders.
Where does it say this?
In the agreement 1979.
It says when those two individual people.
Exactly.
Once they are gone, it says those two specific people.
Yes.
that's going to have to be checked, I think, legal reading on that. If it transfers to a trust, I mean, I hear what you said, Dean, but you're conflicting each other. Is a trust a valid document? If it is,
Don't ask me.
I know, but I think we need a legal opinion.
Well, if it transfers to a trust, it doesn't belong to the two elders anymore, it belongs to the trust.
Right.
So it should hook up. So if it's in a trust name, it should be hooked up now.
The camp is in a trust name, the lease isn't.
Okay.
That's a good way of looking at it too. If it's got a new name, the trust.
I'm back to this idea, I don't think we ought to give someone the 10-year
Right.
window. I think 2020, I think it's a
10-year
hard.
window was put in, I believe, for this purchase because we didn't have the 10-year, purchase part when Lane sold.
Yeah.
So it was put in for the next owner because you were the first owner underneath the 10-year extension. But see, now L'Esperance and some of them, they know this 10-year extension, they're already underneath that portion, so that's why theirs is the 10 years.
Well, when I started talking to Stan last year, he said to me, they're gonna make you hook up, the force main is a done deal. This is long before I got involved. You had a contract with them and decided it was gonna be done, with the eventual hope that everybody on Lane's Lane would hook up for lake reasons.
Right.
And the deal that he said was going to be offered to everybody was you pay X number of dollars when you hook up, but it's going to be around $10,000, $9,000 if you hook up now, right? And so I went in with my eyes open saying, well, and the other understanding was, and I was never quite sure about this, is whether you could pay $1,000 a year for 10 years.
That hasn't been worked out yet by the...
That hasn't been worked out.
Right.
My problem, of course, is that I gotta get hooked up.
You what?
I gotta get hooked up.
Soon, right.
Right. There's a real practical problem.
I think we should just exempt lot 204 and leave it up to the attorney to describe a paragraph that thoroughly researches whether it's in a trust or individual ownership. Because I've just been dealing with lots of trust, and just a tiny little word here makes things go in a completely different direction than you expect.
I think we need to do what you're saying and juxtapose that with the real issue of having a year-round septic need when there's a seasonal public sewer system. So, to Mary's point, if we have a camp that's generating sewage when our public sewer isn't operating, it doesn't make sense to force them to hook up until that building becomes seasonal by legal requirement. I think there's kind of two issues.
I agree to add it to 303.
Yeah, and having it exempt in 303.
And then have the attorney just go through and...
If and unless that so-called year-round system fails.
No.
Well, then the state sewage comes into effect and the best fits required. It might mean using it during the season and using another, reducing its usage.
Yeah, that
I don't
is
know
an
what the
option.
state
They could
would
turn a
consider.
valve
That was
come
part
May
of the
and say, all right,
plan.
we're gonna use the town sewer, and come October, switch the valve and start using their.
Which means they'd be paying for two systems.
That was part of the original plan for the year-rounders at Thompson's Point, where they were gonna be on the municipal system for 6 months and their private system for 6 months by turning a valve.
So I think we have a schedule for meeting time. We have to stop now. I think it's been a good discussion. I would suggest we do the same thing at the start of the next meeting, which is, yes, Ben.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I can say in 2 weeks from tonight,
Are you here, Mary?
6 or 6:30, take an hour and a half. I mean, doesn't matter to me too much, but it'd be nice to go through this. Yeah.
And in the meantime, I
Are we
would like to hook up.
Yeah, are we capable of hooking them up before this ordinance is done?
Yeah.
How can we, that's a question I've been thinking about, because I know you're out there working. I think your hooking up is important to you. It's one more step in keeping the lake clean.
Because I got a year-round system.
Can the sewer commissioners grant a temporary?
Yeah, can we give you a temporary, yeah, that's what I'd like to.
We could make it contingent on you, you're gonna have to pump your septic tank dry anyway, and then, so you're gonna have some capacity in it, that's all done.
When could you, Steve, have the force main operational? Is
2
it,
weeks.
huh?
2 weeks.
2 weeks to get it operational?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, as soon as it gets nice, we're gonna work on getting the whole system up and operating, but 2 weeks.
So could Ben hook up in 3 weeks?
Yep.
Ben could hook up, I mean, he's got all the stuff sitting right there, it's a question of
So-
when it stops snowing.
So what's lot is that? What's the number?
Sorry?
What's your lot number?
503.
2, it's gotta be 2 Sunday. 2.
So I'll make a motion to approve a temporary hookup of lot 503 to the Thompson.
203.
203, excuse me, 203.
Thank you.
To the Thompson's Point wastewater system until the ordinance has been completed.
Okay, only thing is, there'll be some discussions on costs.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to work, will have to work with us. I have some different ideas. You talk to me. Yeah, you can turn the valve. Okay, any questions, any discussion on this topic of this motion?
Thank you, Mary.
Mary, you're voting, you have a question?
I just, back in the day, in the 2016 emails back and forth with the town attorney, they specifically said, we highly recommend that a separate agreement be created that sets out the terms upon which each Lanes Lane leaseholder would repay the town for the connection fee. So I would highly recommend that we tell the attorneys that we do want a separate document. What is that going to look like? Time is of the essence. We have people that need to hook on. So, because this was dropped. This
Right,
email in my
understand
hand
that.
was from May of 2016, and here we are in April of 2018.
But I think Ben is taking the risk.
I'm not saying anything against Ben.
Okay.
We've made the
Oh,
motion.
I agree
It's
with
gonna
you. The
hook on.
financial piece is a separate piece. We haven't gotten to it yet tonight.
Well, I'm just thinking that we are not maybe,
Did that say for each lot?
it said for each Lane's Lane, it said for each, because they say, such an agreement could be entitled a security loan agreement and would establish that the Lane's Lane leaseholders agree to repay the connection fee to the town over a certain term of years. But this, I mean, this was 2016 and nobody said anything to that.
Individual. They're not recommending individual agreements.
No, it can be, it's just them saying
But a special
a separate document to tell the cost
Agreed.
and take it out.
So a fee schedule to.
Yeah, that's the other half of this work we're doing, is that topic. I haven't gotten to it yet. He's willing to take the risk. He wants to hook up. So you might charge him 11,000, or you might charge him 9,000.
That is deep pockets.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. So you're authorized to get it up and running, and thank you, guys. Either 6 or 6:30 in 2 weeks, probably 6:30 in 2 weeks.
Accomplished something, we got Ben hooked up.
Yeah, and we got the force main stuff. That was very good.
Everybody ought to be hooked up because we're also.
Talk to your neighbor, the one on your, to your left to hook up. He probably will not hook up.
Oh, you kid.
No?
You know him.
I do.
You fight with him, not me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Okay. We are on to the select board agenda. Are there public comments? are the select board updates.
Went to the Fire and Ice dance the other night. It was wonderful. The old lantern was packed, solid. Tons of people. Great food, lots of awards. Trevor Denton became a black helmet so he's a senior firefighter. And I can see several of our local 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds joining that department now.
Let's hope
And
so.
it looks good. Well,
Several of them joined, but some
Yeah.
of them have moved on.
wow.
So-
But it's some of the younger guys. It's cool.
Just wondering if you want to add something at the end of the agenda, add an item at the end of the agenda for discussing personnel issue with regard to timesheets.
Yes, that, and wasn't there a second topic?
I think,
Time card?
time card.
Time card, that was it?
I think so.
About the beach attendance.
I don't know, I'm not in that loop. That
Oh,
was,
pay thing? We have a proposal for that.
is
You
it
mean the
pay or is
pay?
it the ad that you were talking about?
No,
The pay.
Oh, okay, okay.
Pay.
Do we want to put that on the next agenda?
The ad is another.
We have a plan
another
that-
question.
I think Mary wants to be here for that discussion,
So
so.
that'd be next agenda. Minimum wage, pay. How we
We
handle
should
it in
do
our
that
grid.
right off early in the agenda if Mary's gonna be here.
There
Or
were some emails floating around about the SimQuest. Does that need to be a topic, or should we do
Yes.
that at the end? Or-
Yeah.
I think the answers, I think their questions were answered, but I guess you'd have to get that from them.
I think we
Yeah,
should.
that's Mary.
What's the
Well,
topic?
there's, what I was kind of getting the understanding was there's, excuse me, an issue with SimQuest and Nimerick not getting along on some things. And I think the burden is on SimQuest they bid on accommodating our current system, and if they can't, that's their problem. They can't just say, well, we can't, these two won't work, so we can't do it, because there was email about lost reports and some other stuff.
Yeah, we met on Friday. Mary and Christina were included in that meeting, and they're going to work on it. SimQuest is. So we're, going to see how that works out, and that's where it's at.
To me, that was dependent on warrants, because if there's a SimQuest bill in there, there's no better way to motivate someone than to say, oh, wait a minute, you fix this and then we'll pay you.
Did you get a call from, did Alex explain to you what happened with my email?
He said that the password expired.
Yeah. When were they going to tell anybody that their passwords expire?
I think you're on webmail when you
Yeah.
when you get on the system remotely. So it's your own personal password. It's not a town isn't in that. You're on webmail to get into a townofcharlotte.com account. I mean, I don't know, Matt and Lane, you have townofcharlotte.com
Mine
accounts?
works fine. It's never expired.
Okay.
I haven't turned mine on.
I don't know, they said.
Never used it.
They said it expired and it's going to expire again in like the very beginning of October, like 6 months.
Yeah.
Is this only happening to me?
I think so. I know Matt and Lane have townofcharlotte.com accounts, so I'm not sure how they're hooked into it.
Hey, one other item. Some of you will work that one out?
Yeah, no, I ended up, I had Dean get a hold of SimQuest and Alex ended up calling me and we straightened it all out.
How long does that take?
Once, we were hit and miss on the phone, so by the time once we got together on a phone and could actually talk, it took 5 minutes.
But how many days? A day or 20 minutes or hour to get back to you?
Let's see, I think Dean contacted him in the morning and I think it was that late that afternoon that Alex got back to me, and then it was a hit or miss for the next day or so. So it was only like 2 or 3 days by the time we got together, and then it was a 5-minute chat and we were done.
One other thing, we got a letter from Chittenden County Solid Waste, seeing Abby here. Her representation needs to be renewed, and I don't see it on, did I miss it?
Right, we're gonna post it, and both Abby and Rachel Stein are interested in renewing, but we are gonna post it to see if anyone else is interested, and then interview on May 14th.
On
May 14th.
Okay. So it expires on the 31st?
End of May.
Yeah, okay. So we'll have an executive session, I guess, on a personnel matter then at the end? Okay. Anything else for updates? Awarding of mowing and brush hogging contract? You want to kind of just tell us the obvious here?
For the town mowing bid, Mo's total was $25,750. Adam Dancher's total was $39,940. Both have hourly costs of $35 an hour.
So there were 2 bids. Should there be a motion then to accept Mo for the town mowing and land maintenance then?
I would say yes.
I'll make a motion to accept Mo's offer on or bid on the mowing contract.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 For the cemetery bid, we received Adam Dancher's bid of $5,360. The hourly rate is $35 an hour. The cemetery commission was happy with his work last year and would support awarding the bid to him this year.
So which one is that? Do I have that right here?
Single page.
That was the only bid, right?
Yep, that's the only bid. Okay,
That one's easy.
is there a motion?
Motion to approve Adam Dancher as the contractor for mowing and maintenance of cemeteries. West and East Burying Grounds.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that?
That should probably add for $5,360.
Oh, that's completely a motion, okay.
Presumably all these do need a contract, and the chair should be authorized to sign, so.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Very friendly one.
Very friendly.
All in favor, no comments? Yes, no? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's good.
The flip side,
Yes?
make a motion to award the brush hogging
Oh, yes.
contract to Adam Dancher for a price of $2,595 with an additional hourly cost of $35 per hour if needed, and authorize the chair to sign
Okay.
for 2018.
A second.
Comments, anybody? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congrats to the contractors. Thanks. Jen Holiday and Abby Falk are here for the discussion, and Junior about the rover. The next agenda item,
I
sorry.
gotta get my agenda out. Oh, the rover to the salt shed?
Yeah.
If you would pick that microphone up and talk to us about that, then everybody could hear on the...
Holiday is going to talk to you about it.
Okay,
It just pops out.
it pops out. Yeah, there you go.
Hello.
Hi. It doesn't amplify, but it's on
Okay.
VCAM.
You can get on the camera, yeah. So I'm Jen Holiday with the Chittenden Solid Waste District. Hello, and thanks for asking me to come to your meeting. I don't get to do this very often. we've been holding rover collection events since 1991. I was actually hired by the Chittenden Solid Waste District to design and implement that program, and I've been with it ever since. So since that time, what we do with the rovers, we go to every town in Chittenden County, and we do a collection event like the one at the Charlotte School that we've done in Charlotte over the years. So since 1991, we've had somewhere around 400 collection events. And a lot can happen at these events. We've served over 48,000 participants collecting household hazardous waste, and what we do is we put it all in our truck and we bring it back to our environmental depot, which is our permanent hazardous waste collection program. Lots can happen at these events in terms of a potential emergency. People can get hurt, you can have a spill, a traffic accident, or somebody can bring something in that's incredibly dangerous that we can't handle at all at these events. And I'm really proud to say that that's only happened twice in this entire time that we've been holding collection events. So we have a great track record. I attribute that a lot to our staff. Gary Winnie has been with the district almost as long as I have, and he runs all these collection events as well as the environmental depot in South Burlington. He's the most knowledgeable person in the state on household hazardous waste. So one of these emergency events, both of these emergency events that have occurred in the past is because somebody's brought something really dangerous in that we can't handle. And both of those times it's been ether, which if it's really old material, it's aged for a long time, it can be in a compromised container, and just transporting that can set off a reaction and cause an explosion. Obviously, we don't want to transport something like that with all the materials that we collect. So in both occasions, what we've done is we've called emergency response. We've set it in a location that's been safe until a contractor can come and basically deactivate it so that we can transport it back to our facility. One of the emergencies happened in Jericho last year. We evacuated the site. We called 911. The fire chief there kept the site evacuated for the day. We didn't resume our collection. And we did end up storing it on site a number of days, at which time a contractor came from out of state. There's no in-state contractors that can deactivate this material. And they did so, and then we were able to move it down to our environmental depot. So with any type of emergency like that, we're kind of reflecting and looking at how we can improve and make sure that we don't cause as little disruption for towns as possible. And in doing that, we're just looking at all our locations and what locations might be preferable. I think the Charlotte Central School has actually been a great location. We hold the events during non-school hours or non-school season in the summer. It's near the Quonset hut. It provides really good queuing and turnaround access for people. But as we are evaluating different locations, I think one of the administrative staff at the school got a little bit nervous about us coming back after maybe learning about our Jericho emergency and felt that maybe we should look elsewhere. So we did. The salt shed was suggested, and Gary went out and looked at that. I kind of looked at it from the gate this evening on my way over here. And Gary's really excited about it. He thinks it's really good. So we're looking for your approval to allow us to move our rover events to the salt shed. And we'll need to, every year we do need to pull a permit with the Agency of Natural Resources. So we'll need a sign off from the town on that.
So you're asking for approval for the change of venue, and then you get individual permits each time is it an annual or semi-annual? Or?
It's every time we do a collection event, we have to have a permit for that one event. Okay. Yes, so it'll be every time we come back, we'll need to get a signature from the town.
So you're okay with it by the salt shed, Junior? Okay. Thank you. Should-
Was an administrator at the school?
No, it was actually Jane Jensen, the CBSD COO. So as the supervisory union's chief operating officer was concerned about continuing it at the school. Although if no other site had been found, it would have been conceivable now that the Quonset hut has been emptied to store any volatile material in a what is it called? A sea chest or something?
Yeah, so what our emergency response plan calls for is we bring a sea container, which are the containers for shipping materials. They're fairly large. That's used to collect all of our latex paint, and we move that down to our latex paint processing facility. So if we were to get one of these items, we would move it into the sea container, which we can close the door, lock it up, and leave it on site until the contractor comes back the following week. You know, so it's best to have a location where we can leave the sea container for a few days without it being inconveniencing anybody.
Where's the best spot in your opinion?
I think Route Road. It would be going through Route Road, like, I don't know what the flow of traffic would be.
Yeah, I think the best way to have it go would be off Church Hill, just because I think the more cars are gonna see, usually they put their sign out, the rover is coming a couple weeks in advance, people would see the sign, they would go in that way, we'd open the 2 gates, and the cars would go out the other end out onto 7, so there wouldn't be any trouble with people turning around, or just a one-way street.
Yeah, no, I think that's a preferable site.
It just seems, my personal opinion, it seems unfortunate to take such a high visibility site that has been really successful, is a real center of town with a very active population in town. It's an educational tool, and you lose all of that by kind of tucking it away down in a very untraveled section of town. All for, it sounds like one person's concern.
We will definitely need to market it a little bit heavier this year because of the change of location. The other thing we can do is just compare it after the event, and if we see a markedly decline in participation, we'll come back to the town and report that and advise that maybe we should go back to the school and work on that. Yeah.
Right, and I believe, and since we consolidated, there's different eyes on what's going on at Schloss Central School, because now this district has eyes on the school and all their buildings, and says what happens on all their buildings, because it's not, you're not dealing with the in-town administration anymore. You're dealing with the district administration.
Are the Rover events held at any other schools in Chittenden County?
Yeah, we're at the Colchester school, high school. No, it's not the high school, it's the middle school on Blake, I think that's.
And is CVSD aware of that?
And the other place that we just received approval for was the Heinsberg Community School, because our drop-off center closed this year, and so we needed an alternative for that location, and we suggested the lower parking lot because that's, in the summer, and it's really far away from the school, and the same person from
Jean Jensen.
Same districts.
Yeah, she actually has been the person I've been emailing, and she's okayed it because she felt like it was far away from the school.
It's true that at Charlotte, a lot of people use that parking lot for hiking up Pease Mountain, and there are a lot of camps that use the athletic fields over the summer. It's true that it's not as segregated there as at the Heinsberg site.
Cool. So, okay, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, for the experiment. I'll make a motion to approve the Chittenden Solid Waste District Rover program to be relocated July 28th to the Charlotte Town Shed on Root Road.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Any other conversation about it? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jen and Heather.
Yeah, thank you for doing your.
For hosting.
Paving plan.
Thank you. Oh, cool.
Wow. You don't normally do that.
Yeah, this is new.
You don't want to say you're used to it.
Okay, so basically the paving this year, usually we can do about 3 miles. So what I was thinking we were gonna do was Churchill Road from basically Heinsberg Road to Route 7 North. Ferry Road from Route 7 to train station. That's Greenbush from Common Way to Thompson's Point. Spear Street from Bingham Brook Road to south to like Robert Marble's house there where they do the cutting of the wood for people that don't know Robert. And then Spear Street from Guinea Road to Rod Stearns' there, the Greenacre Farm. And then Lake Road from Ferry Road to Whaley Road. That's basically where I'd like to do them, you know, and it depends. We might not be able to do all of them. It depends on the price of how much it comes in at. And, you know, I know I'd like to do it before July 1. I tried to do that last year, but it didn't quite work. We got it in first part of July. But anyway, I'm shooting for before July 1 this year again. It wouldn't cost the town anymore because I have money in the budget for that, but I just would like to do it before so the bikers and joggers or whatever have the full season to use the new pavement instead of like a couple years ago we didn't get it done till November. Next thing you know, we got snow on it. So I'd like to put that in the contract, and then in the contract, you know, Dean, I talked to Dean a little bit and, about the purchasing policy, and I'd like to make sure that in our bid we have a deadline date, but we also have down at the bottom, I'm not sure if this would cover it or not, it says the town of Charlotte reserves the rights to accept or reject any or all bids. I am thinking that I do not necessarily want to go with the low bid like we do with everything else, just because with not the one we had last year, I prefer those. That was DNF. But the 2 years before, we've had trouble with them with the seams and leaving asphalt around. So I don't know if we need to put something different on this to cover that, but I'm just giving you guys heads up that I am not necessarily looking for the cheapest bid. I want somebody that we're not having complaints. So I don't know how the board feels.
Standard verbiage that we've agreed to in the past. And
pretty much, yeah.
We'll take your
recommendation. In the past, we've always gone with the cheapest,
okay,
even if it's only like a nickel cheaper.
Yep.
And I don't think, as far as the highway, it's a lot of money, that we should do that. The seams, you know, where they make their butt joints have been terrible, you know. So that's why. Yeah, speed humps, if you want to call them that. And actually, Fritz even had one of the companies come back and try to fix the one by the school, and they did come back, and the stuff that they fixed, they just left on the school lawn, and they really didn't fix the bump. It's still there. So that's one of the reasons why I say that.
So this is a list of the ones you want to do. Is there, if the bid is so much and you have to eliminate, is this a list that's in order of priority?
It is not in priority, no. It's just wrote down.
The bid is based on per ton.
The bid is based on per ton. That's all put down, traffic control and everything included. It's not by how long it takes them or anything. It's price per ton laid down. So I would, you know, depending on what it comes out at, the bid per ton, and if they say we can't, you know, we're not going to be able to do a half a mile, then I would pick the, maybe not the least that needs it, but maybe the least traveled. Definitely the higher traveled areas would get priority.
So you do the bidding, the request for bids, or is?
Yeah, I usually do the bidding. I usually get at least 3. We've had like 5 or 6 maybe in the last couple of years. Different people have put in a request to bid, so I let them bid. And we've been going with the cheapest. And
We understand that point. So any action we need to take now? This is your proposal. So you're going to go out and request bids in the near term?
Yeah, and I'll probably just work with Dean to put like a deadline on it. We don't have a deadline on that. So, you know, I mean, if they can't, last year, you know, they did get started the last part of June, but with the rain and stuff, you know, they didn't get started until basically our new fiscal year, but it was done at least in the 1st of July.
Okay.
I guess since it'll be hard to guess what your preference is, which is, I think your preference is also based on the differential. If it's $1.50 a part versus 5 cents, that you might be willing to go with someone who has weird butt joints. But I think the day of awarding the bid, I'll be looking to your recommendation also to hear what the best selection would be.
Don't we have to wait based on what we just did with the mowing? So we open the bids and then we have to convene at a later date after you've evaluated the bid, so it gives you time to think about it.
We haven't been doing that. We've been awarding it that night. Usually there's a...
I mean, you're comfortable with that?
That's true. I am, yeah. As soon as you open them, I'll be comfortable with it.
You're going to have to defend a best value or if it's not the lowest. I mean,
you know, some of them that have bid for us have not done any paving yet, you know, because they have been a little higher. So I'm not saying that all of them are bad.
But I mean, you're going to have to explain if we take company X, you're going to have to say, well, you recommend this one because past experience or et cetera.
No, I agree.
The bid still includes that spec, right? The state spec?
Yes, it does. I got one sheet here if you wanted to look at it.
No, it's the same as last time.
It's the same as last time.
So we ought to be clear, Dean, in our agenda, whatever, that at bid opening, we will make an announcement then, or?
It'll be, you're saying, I mean, the purchasing policy says that the bids will be opened at one meeting and then decision made at a subsequent meeting.
Do we want to knowingly waive that right now, is what I'm asking the select board actually.
Sure.
I'd like to waive it just because we don't have a lot of time. You know, by the time if we wait for our next meeting to get the bids in and then somebody wants to get started maybe late May or so, I don't want to be put back, oh, we got to wait for another meeting to award it.
Let's do that and maybe even look at exempting the paving contract in the purchasing policy and have it be a same day bid. Just add one line.
Why don't we just, it might take time to change the purchasing policy, but for now, it's in the record. We're waiving the issue of the day open the bids. In the case of paving, we can proceed to make an award if you're prepared.
Yeah. Sure. It sounds like as long as you're road commissioner, it's always going to be a push in the spring to get that approval so that you can get on someone's schedule.
That's what I'd like to do from now on out, yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, people get in first and then we're not paving until November.
So, Dean, the other action then is to make a change to the purchasing policy for paving or an amendment of some sort. Okay, you don't know
we still have the purchasing policy, it's just that we're not going to go with the low one.
Well, that's already in there.
Okay, then that's fine, you don't really need to change the purchasing policy.
The purchasing policy would say we could decide the day that it's opened. Right now, we're supposed to wait.
We have been deciding in the past.
Right, which means we've been not consistent with the purchasing policy, which is only 2 or 3 years old. Before that, there was no purchasing policy.
Correct.
So no actions necessary right now then. We're good. Thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jimmy.
paving plan. Interviews. Trails Committee. David Ziegelman? Okay. Why don't you just give us these are pretty crisp, so 1 minute why you want to renew and your experience, whatever.
So I'm David Ziegelman, for those of you who don't know me. This is probably going to be, I've completed about 6 years on the Trails Committee. I'm very committed to outdoor recreation and trails, and feel that trails for our town is a good way to foster community, connect different parts of town, and improve the life of our residents. So I'm happy to join for another 2 years.
Thank you for your willingness to volunteer. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve David Ziegelman to the Trails Committee for a 2-year term ending April 30th, 2020.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, I was just, David, do you know Frank Tinney? So this is the reason why we have you come in every few years, is so that when the board changes, we get to have a face and a name. I think the rest of us, you know, but, so Frank, that's David.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Congratulations, thank you for another 2 years.
Thanks, Lon.
Thanks, David. Kevin Burgett?
We're going to have a little switch. You can explain it, Rebecca.
Well, Kevin is not re-upping for trails.
Okay.
So that's his story. And I'm taking that place because I've been in a meeting since 6, and I
Just
thought
on the
I would...
agenda, not on the Trails Committee. On the...
I'm moving up. I'm farther down on the agenda, but I'm taking his place, which is my spousal right.
Rebecca,
in line, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin is my husband, yeah. So I'm actually re-upping for the Energy Committee.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I feel pretty good about where the Energy Committee is going and the progress that we're making. We had sort of a quasi-strategic planning meeting in January to get a better hold of, you know, what our objectives are for this year. And we're putting a lot of energy into thank you for your support in passing the new town plan. We now have, and that's what the meeting was just in there, was about working with the Planning Commission and the Regional Planning Commission to do the updates according to Act 174, which is kind of convoluted and complicated, but I think we've got it well in hand. We also will be putting a little bit more energy into public education. And of course, per usual, we rotate around to the town buildings and we see what we can do to be helpful in the library and other areas in terms of adding efficiency and so forth.
So the focus will be working on the town plan for the next
We need to get,
update.
We're doing that this year. The schedule is to do it according to what the state is mandating. So it's been very helpful to have a fresh town plan. I know it might sound depressing that we're already messing with the town plan, but it's something that we have to do.
We all,
every year now.
that was known as an open issue.
It was known.
My question is are we going to present it to the town in November or March?
We're shooting for March.
Okay, that's good.
Because we'll need to have a couple of public hearings with the Planning Commission and then also with you.
Right.
So that'll take all fall, but we hope to have our first final draft by July.
Good.
Make a motion to appoint Susie Hodgson to
Rebecca Foster.
Rebecca Foster.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rebecca.
Susie's not here.
No. Rebecca Foster to the Energy Committee for a 2-year term ending April 30th, 2020.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for continuing your support.
Thank you.
I'm Kevin Burgett. As she said, I am stepping down from the Trails Committee. It was a decision and I was late to reach. I've had an interest in conservation for a long time. There was an opening on this commission, so I felt I would see what I could volunteer to help. And I've attended a few meetings of the Conservation Commission, so I see my role as just learning the town plan better and bringing myself up to speed on what they've been doing and seeing how I can contribute.
So I'm a little confused. So you're here for trails, so you don't want to renew, I got that.
And then next one down.
Oh, you're in 2 spots, got it.
Yep.
So now you're talking to us on the conservation. Yep. So this is a new assignment for you.
Yep.
On conservation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And is there an opening?
Yeah.
Which one? These are all filled here. That
Right. There.
I can read you the names.
I'm just about there.
Page 32.
Meg Berlin. Well, she was one, and then actually Mike. No. Dirk. Dirk Berquist.
He is not renewing then?
Right.
So Derek is not renewing, and then Kevin will take that spot. Okay. Is there a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve Kevin Burgett as to the Conservation Commission for a 4-year term ending April 30th, 2022.
Second?
So did Dirk tell you, Dean, that he didn't want to? Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for putting your talents in another area. Bill, you're up next.
Good evening, Bill Fraser Harris, Recreation. I would like to apply for another 3-year term ending 30th of April 2021. First time I've ever said that date, 2021.
It's a long time.
It's, yeah.
So that's for you, that's 3 years then, yeah.
Make a motion to appoint Bill Fraser Harris to the Recreation Commission for a 3-year term ending April 30, 2021.
Second.
Good. All in favor, any comments? Thank you for your good service and your publicity that we see all over the place. I think Recreation is really doing well with Nicole, you, and
Really active.
others. Greg, appreciate that.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Greg.
Well, let's see. I would be applying for reappointment for a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2021. And it'll take me that long to get most of the town engaged in pickleball, nothing else.
I gave you a year.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to reappoint Greg Smith to the Recreation Commission for a 3-year term ending April 30, 2021.
Second.
And thank you. You've been quite public in promoting pickleball among.
I'd like to make a comment in that most of the town didn't know too much about pickleball when Greg first started, and I'm a little concerned now that he's set his sights on petanque. And hopefully in another 3 years, the town will be as familiar with petanque as they now are with pickleball.
Petanque,
Wow.
pool, oh yeah.
Behind you.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you again for your service. Okay, Bill Pence.
In the back.
Hi.
Okay.
I'm applying to be on the Recreation Committee. It's my first venture into any committee on the town. I'm going to retire July 1st, and very much have heard good things about the Recreation Committee and activities here. I think it'll be a great group to work with, and I'd like to enhance my life by giving back to the community and being more involved. I would very much like to be part of the committee.
That fulfills the vacancy that I see here, or is it?
Yes.
Yeah, Jan Schwartz.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Oh, it's Jan Schwartz?
She moved out of town.
Oh, that name isn't, oh, I'm in the wrong spot.
So, actually, it's
Recreation.
got a different date.
Kind of been waiting
yes,
for
got it.
about a year for a vacancy. I applied about a year ago, year and a half. So I guess.
A long waiting list.
Yeah, I know. It's due to that darn pickleball.
So, actually, my mistake, appointment for replacing Jan should be for her term, which ends in 2020.
Right.
It's a 3-year term, but this one ends in 2020.
What's your passion in recreation?
Everything. I love sports. I have a sports business I run on the side that I would, at that time, donate supplies to the town.
Oh, great.
If there's any conflict, I would just do them at cost for the town. Soccer balls, instant ice packs, field paint, gym equipment. I can get everything at cost. We'll just do it by invoice for the town if you want. I don't want any conflict of interest there.
Good.
You've talked with Nicole about that?
I'm sorry?
Have you talked with Nicole?
I worked with Nicole before for a little bit of profit. If I was on this committee, I would do it at cost.
I see.
And I could establish cost with you. It won't be cost plus. It's very easy to do. It's a small business. So.
Thank you.
I correct myself again. It's actually to replace Mark McDermott, who's not seeking reappointment, and his term ends this year, so it's a 3-year term ending 2021.
And it's replacing who?
Mark McDermott.
Oh.
So there'll be one open seat?
Right.
There is another vacancy, yes.
Yep. Did we make the motion?
Make a motion
Yeah,
to
okay.
appoint Bill Pence to the Recreation Commission for a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2021.
Seconded?
Second.
Any other comments? You guys support this new member?
Absolutely. I've actually worked with Bill as a volunteer down at the Flynn Theater for a number of years, so he and I are familiar with one another, and it's always good to have new blood on the committee, and looking forward to always having the new input, so it's great.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Bill, for volunteering. Stuart, good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to apply for another 3-year term. Thoroughly enjoy working with people in the zoning office. The folks on the zoning board are a great group of minds. We work collaboratively. We disagree collaboratively. We agree collaboratively. I mean, I'm having a great time, and I'd like to continue to make a contribution.
The chairman's okay? Of the zoning board?
Yeah. Comment.
Yes, actually, no. I mean, honestly, I mean, Frank pays attention. I mean, I think I'm paying attention to details, and we'll exchange emails, and Frank will have thought of something that wasn't even on my screen. No, I mean, it's Frank's a great chairman. He does a good job.
I don't let Stuart talk himself down. He does a lot of good work on the decisions he's taken up lately to help write some of the decisions up, or at least rough them up in a good shape. So he's been a real help on the board.
I can't believe it's been 3 years already. I remember when.
Has it been 15 or is it just 2? I thought it was 2.
Maybe your first term.
I think the first term, I think
replace
you were
him.
referring, there was a gap there. Because I certainly
Oh,
was
okay.
3 years.
I was going to say, wow,
That was 3 years.
no
That
time
was-
goes
that
by.
was
But.
Really fast.
So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Stuart Bennett to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2021.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for staying in the fray.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Susie.
Susie is not here tonight. Bill Kaylock is here.
Right, so you already had Rebecca?
Yep.
So we're jumping down to the end of the list. You reappointed Rebecca Foster. Susie Hodgson will come back another meeting, and Bill is the last member tonight.
Bill. So you're a renewal.
Yeah, volunteering for a reappointment, excuse me, to the Energy Committee for a 2-year term.
How long have you been on it prior to the 2 years?
That's a good question. I think
A lot of years?
6 years now.
Oh.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. Really, my interest in continuing with the Energy Committee is based upon a lot of the work that I'm doing in my business life, really helping to working with states and utilities to balance the need for renewables throughout the country. And Act 174 here in Vermont is really interesting to me because it's a focus on trying to achieve the 90% goal, but every town is taking that to heart to actually be 90% for each town. And that, to me, doesn't make much sense. We're trying to be 90% statewide. Doesn't mean each individual town needs to be 90%. We need to be more focused and take a look at the economics of where it makes sense to be, put the renewable energy where it needs to make the most economic sense. So to balance the resources across the state.
So some towns could be
Some
2,000%.
They could be,
over
yeah,
there.
200%, and some towns could be 50%. And
Yeah, I think there was a discussion once about, because Essex, so they gave Essex as an example, not having the space to
Exactly.
put the
Right.
renewable energies, and other towns had plenty of area to do it.
Exactly.
Since you work with the state, does the state's program accommodate, because typically the grid's maintained by conventional power companies. Does the state encourage?
Exactly. The regulators have to provide the incentive for the utility to correctly locate or optimally locate the resources. States like California have a distributed resource plan. So it's, instead of being a statewide resource plan, it's actually, the utilities have to do, I'm trying to make this as lay terms as possible, but they have to do least cost planning at the distribution level instead of the state level. So
Much
something.
bigger state, much a little harder to distribute.
Yes, but there's still opportunities here.
Is there a motion to appoint Bill? Reappoint Bill?
Make a motion to reappoint Bill Calick to the Energy Committee for a 2-year term ending April 30, 2020.
Second.
Seconded. Any other comments? Appreciate your volunteering again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're in.
Thank you.
That's it, Dean?
Yeah, that's it for reappointments tonight. There are some scheduled for the next meeting,
Okay.
the 23rd.
Okay.
Local emergency operations plan, actually, I was expecting Chris Davis to be here. We may have crossed wires. So I'd suggest no action on that. We'll put it on the 23rd agenda.
You know, it's merely an update of the key players, the fire chief, select board chair, assistant fire chief, and all the rest are guidelines of an incident.
True.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Then Chris Davis is the name of the emergency responder. I mean, do you think we should wait, or does this current one expire? Or?
It expires, it's supposed to be reapproved by May 1st, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah, by May 1st. So you do have time for one more go around, but you're right, it's not.
It's only this page.
I agree with you.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to approve it? Because we met with them the last time they were here, and everyone agreed to the names that are on this. If you want to make a motion, maybe we can just...
Make a motion to approve the local emergency operations plan. Does that have to be signed by anybody, or
No, I don't think so.
just to accept it?
Yep.
I think, someone that's taken ICS 402 or 100 training needs to sign off on it, which I have taken that. I guess it's either Lane or me that's asked to certify it.
Yeah, you did it last year, right?
Yeah.
So what's an online, how long is it, a couple hours?
Yeah, I don't need to take it again once you've been certified.
Does that mean I need to do it then? If my name's-
Yeah, either one of us can sign it as long as we've taken.
Oh, I see, okay. So you can sign this then?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the,
To be signed by me.
yeah. Who is, IS, what'd you say?
ICS 100 certified.
Okay.
What he said.
Has that been seconded?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Next item, reset properties. Are you folks, are you the neighbors? You're the neighbors. Interesting events here. Do you want to speak to it, or do I, or?
I can take a quick overview and then turn it over. Basically, for many years, I've been hearing complaints about the lights at the property owned by Reset Properties, which is the front building at the Ferry Road Business Park. Since mid-2000s, Tom Mansfield had been in touch with them about correcting the lighting. They did make a change in the lighting fixture, I believe, to LED, but it's actually possibly brighter than it was. So successive zoning administrators have heard complaints and have tried to ask the property owner to correct the lighting. Janine McCrum and Joe Reum, and then finally Joe issued a notice of violation in October of 2017, and that went through the court process, and the court ultimately determined that they are in violation, and he awarded the town with about $4,500 as a penalty, which covered essentially covered the attorney costs. So it also allowed the town to, well, it requires the lights to be either removed or shielded, and also gives the town the authority to, if the landowner doesn't, to with 24-hour notice to remove the lights or shield them. So I did give the property owner essentially 5 days notice. He responded somewhat upset. I had a subsequent conversation with Jack Pilla, one of the neighbors, and Catherine Hughes, and Jack agreed to talk to the property owner and did, and they had a discussion which I'll let Jack relay.
Yeah, after we heard the reported message that he left for the town, I decided to go over and chat with him. I knew him from over 20 years ago, and I gave him a call and said, I want to talk to you about the lights, and he was a little upset that I was the one in the greenhouse complaining about the lights. But we chatted for quite a while, and he's very upset with the town. He claims he never heard anything about the light situation until, I believe, he was served papers in October from the court decision. Catherine's been dealing with this since 2006.
Yeah, I just want to point out that would be a lie, because I have been trying to get Mr. Kellner's attention since before 2006, and I actually went over there when he would return any of my phone calls in 2006, and I just waited in his office one day until he finally showed up, and we had a rather unpleasant conversation. So for him, that would be on his part. So for him to say that nobody contacted him about it is just wrong. Just set the record straight there. So continue.
But then I became involved in this probably just over 2 years ago, when all of a sudden we realized that he put in these really high intensity bulbs, and they were actually shining in our windows at night. And that's when we started dealing with Janine who then started trying to get in touch with Mr. Kellner, and I don't think she had any luck either. So anyway, back to my conversation with Mr. Kellner. He's denying even knowing about this until that, I think, October letter he received, and is not very favorable with the town of Charlotte, and he's a fighter. So we talked for a while, and we went out and looked at the lights, and he doesn't sound like he's willing to do anything, and he's going to fight this and just make a big stink about it, get a lawyer involved.
Did you point out that he'd already lost the court case?
Oh yeah, he understands that, but for him, he believes he's in compliance because he changed one light fixture, and he said because he dealt with the state Act 250, he doesn't have to deal with the town, which is not correct. But anyway, this is what he's saying and what he's feeling about the town. So at the end, he was not willing to do anything on his own, and then he said, well, why don't you talk to the town, get them to get rid of that $4,000 legal fee, and I'll do what they want for the lights. So I said to him, is that what you want me to do? And he just looked at me, and I said, well, I'll talk with the town and let them know. So basically, I'm just a messenger.
So in summary, he's cost us legal fees of $4,525.
Yeah, for 374.
For what? 4,005.
That's how much, that's what the court's allowing for the fine, 4,374 and 22 cents.
Okay, legal fees, they're allowing us.
And then they assessed a penalty that basically covers that cost.
$4,525.
Yeah.
So we have a court order authorizing the town to remove the lights and to fine Mr. Kellner. And based on the nasty phone call, Dean has brought it to the attention of the select board. So what is the pleasure of the select board is the question.
When was this decision made? It's not dated explicitly.
The court decision?
Yeah.
October 24th.
Of 2017?
Yeah.
So it's well past the 30 days.
It is, it is.
I think we should, with the constable, whatever it takes, have an electrician remove the light. And I think we ought to bill Mr. Kellner for the cost of our legal fees. And if he's not willing to pay it, put a lien on his property. This has been on for a long time. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, I don't know if you've listened to the phone call, but it's really been rather unpleasant.
I think I'm reading, if the defendant fails to remove the lights or install shields, hoods, or other devices within 30 days of the service of this order, plaintiff, its agents, employees, or contractors shall have the right, but not the obligation upon a minimum of 24 hours prior notice to enter upon the subject property during weekday business hours to undertake the removal or installation. So it seems like the courts are saying that we can do that.
Yep. So, based on the position of Mr. Kellner, I would think that we would want the electrician to be accompanied by
I think Josh.
Josh would be fine. I don't think any action is required on our part. The court decision is pretty clear. If you want to if we need to make a motion, we can.
When did you give the 5 days notice?
I believe it was around 3 weeks ago.
And then you received a phone call.
Was it certified? Was it?
No, it was a phone call.
Message?
It was a phone message.
Maybe it'd be good to send a certified letter. I don't think we're going to have an electrician there tomorrow.
Sure.
This way, we can prove to a future court if needed that it was delivered. Or an email might also be part of that, so it could be referenced. Timestamps.
I don't believe you need a motion, do you, Dean, for just carrying out the order?
Sure.
Select board's now aware of it.
Sure, it's in the minutes.
Endorse it?
Well, my only concern is, what if he does put up a fight? What if you end up back in court and there's more and more legal fees? Just because you have a court order doesn't mean it's going to be clean and easy. That's my only concern.
Well, I'm sure you're right. So you put a lien on the property.
Which doesn't really do anything until we go to sell the property.
It's what we're entitled to do.
But if it's not done, right, but if it's not done and the town can't, for some reason, can't get in to fix it, then the town is also entitled to further fines, which would be further liens on the property.
I think the issue is, for me, thinking on behalf of the town, yeah,
We've been
is
looking at these lights for many years.
12 years now. I mean, and a violation.
Going down there after this meeting.
But really, it's the level of uncooperativeness and the inability to speak directly with the landowner. I think that shows a wanton disregard of the community, and it's really, important for the select board to represent the community and say that this type of behavior is not okay, and the court says it's not okay, and we should really honor and uphold that. It's not every situation is resolvable or pleasant. This one seems to not be, but we should move forward and resolve it.
So the lights come down completely.
I have a clarification question. And I appreciate your doing this, by the way, because I've been dealing with this for quite a while, since 2005, 2006. But I also, and I'm not a fan of Mr. Kellner's, they can hear me. I'm not a fan of Mr. Kellner's at all, because I don't feel like I've personally been treated very well over the last 10, 12 years. But having said that, and I agree with the town, I don't think it's okay for people to just ignore court orders as a rule of thumb, But also, I noticed Lane said, disconnect the light. Do you want to do that, or shielding is a really positive thing. Is that something you want to entertain, or you just want to disconnect it? I'm just asking for clarification.
I have to look at the words of the court order. What's that say?
Shielded or disconnected.
One of the problems is the easternmost light is downward directed, but it's reflecting off the building and bouncing back, so even shielding, I think, is not going to address the problem.
Well, it could if it was done right. You could actually take roof flashing and just, if you put it around the top, you could just angle it down. I understand a business person's wanting to have light in their outdoor area at night. I get that. But shielding would do a lot to, it's not doing any good. The light is just going out, like into our houses, but it's not aiming down. And if, just as a clarification, if you put, even roof flashing around it, and and aimed it all down, that would be, that would be okay, and that helps the business owner, and it helps the.
See pictures?
I think it's not
I've seen
quite
them.
that easy. A commercial building has to have lights that have approvals, and adding shielding can change that, can change grounding issues.
Well, then is the town responsible for installing a makeshift shielding structure
That's what I'm
on
asking.
someone's private property? If the owner was here and wanted to discuss those options, that would be one thing, but not having the option to discuss them leaves us with very little responsible choices. I think it would be a liability to try and install an improvement to someone's property compared to removing it.
I think you subject yourself to additional years of the actual shield, I think the first option here is to remove them.
And if they want to
come back and shield them,
lights that are in compliance, then that would be great.
I did talk to an electrician, he said he can disconnect them, he doesn't necessarily have to remove them. So it's possible to leave them but disconnect them so they're not operating. And then, perhaps there's a way, if he were to figure out a way to shield them, that he could reuse them, or use them in a capacity that doesn't create glare.
The lighting fixtures to replace them aren't that expensive either.
No, this doesn't, certainly less expensive than the sign and the legal fees.
One thing Mr. Kellner did mention was at one point he was thinking of adding additional lights just to piss everyone off.
The other thing is, I'll go put new light bulbs in there after we disconnect it, but I guess we take it step by step.
And remove them, disconnect, it's really easy to reconnect them.
Right. So, proceed, I guess. Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for clarification also.
Sorry you had to do it.
I'm just been 12 years.
More than 2 years. And there are 4 lights that are the ones that are part of it.
So I'll work with you on which ones. I'll talk with you before having them.
Well, there's a number of things that
We
happen
should have
around
that
town
in
that,
minutes that there are 4 lights.
I'll talk to
that
you.
We're talking about 4 lights. Is that what we're talking about? 4?
we don't know which
Just a
one they
zoning
are.
decision.
On the east side.
Yeah.
There are 2 on the south that are just shooting outwards. Have you seen the pictures?
I have, yes.
I don't know if anyone.
I just saw the 2 lights.
Well, there's 4 altogether.
Okay.
You can, yeah.
2 on the
If you
east
go down
side.
there, it's pretty obvious.
2 on the east, 2 on the south.
One
I mean,
to
if
the
I've
north.
seen them, I'm not remembering, but.
ET's home show.
That's from up there in the window.
No, I didn't. I touched something. I like to turn it.
Right.
And it wasn't an issue for us until they put in the high intensity bulbs, and then it was like,
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
we have 2 sets of minutes. March 26th first.
Motion to approve the minutes of March 26th as may be amended.
Second.
I didn't see anything on these. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Is there a motion for April 2nd?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 2nd.
Seconded?
Second.
On line 48.
Second. I don't think you were here.
2 second?
Oh, I was absent. When do you know?
Oh, you weren't here?
I wasn't here.
So who else taking a second? Line 48 says, I would change Lane to Morrison if you want to use a Mr. or just put Lane, either one.
Sorry.
Otherwise, that's the only thing I saw. Lane is fine. Otherwise, these look pretty good. We were just restating the 17-minute meeting. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into, is there any other business besides executive session?
I just want to let Select Board know there is a petition which for additional antennas and maybe additional equipment on an existing telecommunications facility down at 1324 Ferry Road, which is the former Knowles Farm, current Knowles Farm, on the silo, or in the vicinity of the silo.
Mo's
Right.
facility, the
It's
silo.
considered a de minimis modification, which means they don't hold a hearing unless a party
Who
objects.
doesn't hold a hearing?
The Public Utility Commission.
But they still need building permits.
They notify the town and probably adjoining property owners.
It's not on their original building permit. The original building permit said they had 2 antennas. They're putting on 2 more.
Yeah, they may
So-
need local permits. This is just this is the state permit.
Right.
So they, we can notify them that they'll need to amend their local permits.
Just making sure because it is listed in our zoning bylaws.
So you're, oh, it's just an awareness. That's going to the environmental court for the state.
Utility Commission.
Utility, okay.
Public Service Board.
Public Service Board.
Yep.
Anything else? Executive session?
Make a motion, we go into executive session.
Okay. Is that seconded? Purpose of personnel
Purpose of personnel.
issue? Well, second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Lenny, do you want to come back to the broadcast or sign off?
I don't think there'll be any action taken. I'm okay to adjourn after we come back, so we could sign off now. Yep.